Okay, good morning, Joe Winberg, Bluebird Semaphore. This clip is going to be an appendum to World History for Ordinary People 23. So it'll be on and posted and called that World History for Ordinary People 23 Appendum. And the reason why I got to do an appendum is because when I last was on this and doing this, first I did a piano playing and a poem. Then I did the World History 23. And in the piano and the poem clip, I read Kubla Khan by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. And I subsequently, very shortly thereafter, or maybe even very shortly before doing that, I had become aware of China. I think it was before I read that poem on the video clip. I think I read and came across a piece of information that China, 1000 BC, decided to do a major deforestation to make more land available for agriculture so they can increase their population. Anyway, I talked about that, I think, in World History 22. But the point is, one of the reasons for reading a poem is because there's a mention in the poem that I thought I wanted to drag into this conversation about the 1000 BC. So, here it is. The poem, and I have it right here, Kubla Khan, mentions forests in it, and I'm going to read about 5 lines that are kind of around that section, okay? Here we go. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground with walls and towers were girdled round, and there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. And here were forests, ancient as the hills. And I'm going to repeat that. And here were forests, ancient as the hills, enfolding sunny spots of greenery. So that's the section that jumped out at me because Coleridge was reading about Xanadu, the fabled city that was brought to the world's attention via Marco Polo's travel log. Anyway, that city, Xanadu, probably called Shandu by the people who made it and lived there and came after it. But because that's what Marco Polo calls it. But that begins 1220 BC. No, take that back. 1220 AD, when Genghis Khan, the original big Mongol leader, he starts that thing going. He maps it out, what he wants it to be, and there's a reference 2 miles by 5 miles. That, I believe, is the size of the imperial city that's going to be enclosed within an even larger walled space, 10 or 20 miles per side. I mean, it's really big. But this inner piece was 2 miles by 5 miles. And I believe Marco Polo points that out in his book. Now, Marco Polo gets there about 50 years later when the grandson, Kubla Khan, is on the throne. And for whatever reason, Kubla and the people who came after him, they then moved out of Xanadu, Chengdu, and got into being in Peking. And I believe the rationale there was, of course, they were a foreign dynasty. They had invaded China from the north, and Kublai Khan figured I could govern better from their seat of government. So he moved everything down there, and it's where he governed from. Xanadu, Shangdu itself kind of fell into disarray. So that was the connection that I wanted to make from 1000 BC and then leaping forward over 2,000 years to 1220 AD, or as they say today, the Common Era, CE. They had to go to, exorbitant effort to create a forest land that the Kublai Khan, Genghis Khan, and the Khans were more used to or were desirous of, because the land had been deforested. So they recreated it, 20 miles of it by 20 miles, but the inner city was 2 by 5. 2 miles by 5, which, and I'm thinking about it now, it just goes to show you that reforestation is possible. Chinese did it, let's call it 1900 years ago. Is that right? Probably not, no. Probably like 900 years ago they did that. So we could do it ourselves, because after all, deforestation is one of our prime activities here in the 21st century, everywhere you go on the globe. And I've said this before, I think on the earlier post. They're just deforesting every inch of the planet. So we could turn it around, but the willpower isn't there, the political power isn't there, and people are more involved in their, whatever they do these days. I know one thing they don't do. They don't live their lives like Confucius suggested that they should. If they did, we wouldn't be in the trouble that we are. But it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, does it? Listen, I just wanted to do a little addendum. I did it. I'm done. I believe I corrected that statement. Not corrected, but I illuminated it. 1000 BC, 1220 AD, having to do with forests in China. And so with that, I'm just going to say goodbye for now. You'll see this, it will say World History 23 Addendum, and that'll be its name. But you don't need to know that, because you'll already have read that if you're listening to this, so you don't need me to tell you it again. Okay, thank you, bye, have a nice day, bye.